Hi everybody, this is Noelle and we are at Casa Verde. Casa Verde is our very large greenhouse here in Columbia Station, and if you ever wondered what we do during the winter, we stay really busy. So we wanted to show you today all of the kind of different ways that we produce plants. And of course, Petitti Garden Centers produces 98% of the plant material that you do see in our stores. So you can look right above my head here. We had started these Boston ferns basically in November, so just at the end of fall, and they're already really taking on some really good size. But there are so many other plants, so many other things that we can show you in Casa Verde that we do during the winter. But the one thing that I wanted to mention, and lots of people ask us, is how do you keep this 34-acre greenhouse heated? And we use a biomass furnace. So basically, huge furnace where it will burn all of the shredded bark and wood that we bring in as kind of, if you will, after you're done plowing or turning over the fields from different places. But it's all bark that's brought in and then, of course, thrown into the furnace. It is superheated and produces a lot of heat for us. And then the little byproduct is ash that comes from that furnace, and that in turn is put into our planting mixes. So it all works out, and it is nice and warm here today. This is where a lot of the magic begins. So if you didn't know, we produce our own soils here at Casa Verde, our potting mixes, our planting mix as well. So what you see bagged in the stores starts here, but of course we use those soils as well to grow our plant material in. So soil machine is here. It's actually all mixed through this area, and then it's carried through these huge conveyor belts up above, and then it is dropped down into the planting lines. And the planting lines, of course, have all different sizes of pots and flats and those types of things where all the different plant material is being planted. So we're going to walk through and you'll see two planting lines on either side of me. One has quartz and one actually has hanging baskets that are being planted right now. So let's go, let's take a look. So we are here in one of our production greenhouses, and we take a lot of cuttings and produce a lot of different plant types from seed and from cuttings. And so what we do is we produce a plug type plant. So this is a little cutting of a pentas. You can see the pentas flower blooming here, and this will actually get cut because we want the energy not to go to the flower at this point, but we want it to go to the plant body, right, and develop its root system as well. And this one is really well developed. Roots have gone all the way down through the plugs. And so with the plugs, what we do is we'll take them, of course, and put them through the production line. So you saw the soil dropping from the hoppers down, from the conveyor belts down into the hopper, and then of course into the quart-sized pots. And then it'll come through, it gets blown off the top, all the excess gets blown off the top. And then as it runs down through the planting lines, the planters will simply take those plugs and go ahead and plant in those pots that they need to fill out. So the planting line that you mostly saw was quartz. We had some hanging baskets getting planted on the other side, and again, some huge combo planters, probably 13, 14 inch round combo planters getting planted on one of the far lines as well. And they literally are just taking a combination of all these different plugs and things and going ahead and putting those in those combo planters. So that's how that starts. And so this is what one of those little plugs that we propagate looks like. And as you can see, and as Taylor pans around, there's a ton of color and foliage and texture difference. And it's all these tiny little plugs. Some of them might be annual, some of them might be tropical material, some of them might be perennials out here as well. So we try to cut it and grow it all. Keep in mind, this greenhouse is not anywhere near full. But again, it's winter. And so we are growing right now some of those crops that take a little bit longer time to fill out and really, make a good looking container or basket really look nice. And so in this greenhouse facility here, we do what they call flood flooring. So we actually will flood this bay with water, not a lot of water, maybe an inch or so of water. And then it's a real healthy way for us to control all of the plant watering from the bottom, and the plant uses what it needs to use and will not use what it doesn't need to use. And then that water actually is drained back out. And you see these kind of channels down the sides of the floor, and it's drained back out. It is drained into a very large cistern. It's a huge pool and filtered. And then of course it is reused. So we recycle our water usage. We're very, very proud of doing that. At the greenhouse, we do have overhead watering systems as well. So if there's some drier areas or what have you, we have overhead booms that can hit those drier areas. But for the most part, it's watering from the bottom. So it's very efficient. And then above us, again, we were talking about the hanging baskets getting planted. This greenhouse bay, for the most part, is very full, but the crop that is up here right now is Dipladenia. And of course, it is a tropical, beautiful flowering tropical plant, large trumpet blooms, reds and pinks and whites and so forth. But the Dipladenia, again, takes a longer time to produce. So you'll see the Dipladenia baskets up above, underneath drip irrigation and so forth. And they'll get circulated throughout the greenhouse to get nice and even as they grow for us. But they're up there. And then in a blink of an eye, it seems like within, a week, it'll be a whole new crop kind of moving around through the greenhouse. So we're just looking forward to keep on filling the greenhouse. And when we come back in late April, you'll see so much more color. We're out in some of the cold greenhouses. So the majority, I should say that it seems like half and half really growing area wise, but we've been in the warm greenhouses, the heated greenhouses by that biomass furnace that I was talking to you about earlier. So now we are outside in a cold house, and you can tell, filled with pansies and violas. You see all of the color behind me, and it smells so good in here. It's like that sweet viola scent. It is so wonderful right now. So I'm really happy to be out here. But we grow a lot of crops a lot of different ways. And one of those ways is growing them cold. And many, many crops like pansies and violas, like your perennials as well, they do so much better in cooler temperatures coming on. And that makes the body of that plant just so much stronger and hardier. So you see the pansies here, but other examples would be as soon as we start planting petunias, for example. Petunias do really well in colder temperatures. So we bring them down into these cold greenhouses, and go ahead and let them fill on and branch out, get really, really full and hardy. And it just does really well. The petunias do in that type of situation. Geraniums do well that way. Snapdragons do well that way. So there's quite a few crops that can take some colder temperatures. We don't want it to drop below freezing, of course, but with some of these other crops, but they can take some cold in it, and it really makes them much hardier, much stronger plants in the long run. We are in I would say this part of the greenhouse is used predominantly for edibles. So we have a lot of herbs back here, and we have some veggies back here. Although as I look over, the cyclamen are back here. And again, this greenhouse is kept a little bit cooler as well. Just again, that benefit of when you grow a little bit cooler, your plant system tends to be a little bit stronger, develops a little bit more hardiness to it. And we've seeded these crops right here, and Taylor's going to show you. This is lemon basil, and it smells wonderful in here too. But of course, I've been, rubbing my hands over the top of the herb plants here. But just baby lemon basil, their true leaves are just starting to develop down here. So they were probably seeded, last week, not too long ago. And as we go, you can start to see, some of the parsley develop as well. And some of the purple basil here, which I think is amethyst. Let me see. Yep, so amethyst. And sometimes you get some unique coloring with the amethyst basil as well. But again, you see them from start to finish, from seed to, filling out that plug, or maybe a cutting. So we'll go through and we can cut the curly parsley and the basil as it gets older. We can take cuttings of these plug trays, these seeded plug trays, and go ahead and replant them so we can make more plugs out of them. And that whole process is really, really great because we are constantly trying to time and push out product, so you constantly have a fresh stream of product, not only for edibles, but also for your flowering plant material. So we grow in stages. Now, don't get me wrong, I showed you the Diplodenia and the ferns. Those typically we grow enough, because they take such a long time to develop, that we grow enough to hopefully last through the growing season for you. But other crops that are very, very quick to turn, petunias, geraniums, what have you, herbs, we go ahead, we start them at different stages again, continue to take cuttings, continue to root those cuttings, continue to plant those plugs, continue to grow those plugs on in their pots, and voila, you have your finished plant material all ready to go. And here we are in one of our perennial greenhouses. Again, very cool in here. A slight cool breeze is blowing through right now, but really, really beautiful. And you can tell lots of color and texture, again, just starting to come up. The dianthus are really predominantly what's blooming. And then in the far back, there's some primrose. Way back there, the yellows and the pinks, some violas through the area as well. But basically, that's what we're doing here during the winter at Casa. So we are seeding the plants, taking the cuttings, making the plugs, planting the plants, of course, setting them out to let them grow larger. And, they will be coming to a store, a Petitti's near you very, very soon. We can't wait for spring. Enjoy.